disarmament, that's nuclear disarmament, that's absolutely critical because it's a topic that has Brzezinski written all over it. So Brzezinski was, of course, the head of the National Security Council under Jimmy Carter. He is the guy who successfully played the Afghan Mujahideen against the Soviet Union. He has boasted that he lured the Soviets into invading Afghanistan by sending in U.S. Special Forces teams in the summer of 1979, 6 months before the Soviets invaded the country. He's also the guy who played Saddam Hussein Iraq against Khomeini's Iran for the purpose of destroying both countries, but of propping up both dictatorships at the same time. In other words, the Khomeini regime by 1980 was showing signs of collapse. So Brzezinski said, all we need is a foreign threat. So let's play Iraq against Iran and we'll keep both of them going. He was also a supporter of the Pol Pot genocidalist regime, and he's generally known for the traditional imperialist method of using one country as a tool against another so that you don't have to get involved and you don't have to face military defeat and all the expense. The ruling passion of his life is a hatred of Russia. He is a Russophobe. He is a ferocious enemy of everything Russian. There's a Brzezinski plan. The Russians will tell you, and I think it does exist. He doesn't publish it, but this is behind the scenes. He would like to divide European Russia into 4 or 5 different countries. He'd like to go back to a situation like you had during the Russian Civil War of 1919-1920, where you had the Bolsheviks in the middle maybe, but a whole bunch of other countries that had broken off, the North, the South, and so forth. So every Russian knows that Brzezinski means furious hatred, fanatical hatred of Russia. So that's what we have to expect under Obama. We're going to move towards some kind of apocalyptic endgame against Moscow and Beijing, with Brzezinski calling the shots through somebody like the most important official of the new regime is already clearly Robert Gates from the Pentagon. He's going to run intelligence, run the Pentagon. He's a clone of Brzezinski and has boasted about it.
That's stroking the masters, or getting the head stroked by the master.
Yeah.
You know, like lap dogs.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's you know, you did a good day's work and the master strokes him and send him on back to the damn doghouse.
Yeah.
I think in most cases, people like P. Diddy and Jay-Z and a lot of these cats, I don't even think they have any political awareness anywhere. Yeah. If it doesn't benefit them financially, they're not really politically astute to the point where they can be very honest and open and candid with us as black men, you know, and black women, to say, okay, tell us what you really think. The camera is not on now. You're not in the studio. You're not on stage. Tell us what you really think. And if what you really think doesn't go hand in hand with what you're telling the people that love, honor, and respect you and buy and support you, then what's really your agenda? You understand what I'm saying? Jay-Z already knows the handshakes. He's already taken the oath. They already let P. Diddy in. You don't get to the $20 million club without getting these people's stamp of approval. Do you understand what I'm saying? But Puffy had the vote or die, which is utterly stupid and ridiculous and idiotic. For a Negro like that to be giving us that kind of ultimatum, you either vote or you die. Jay-Z openly supports Barack Obama. 50 Cent openly supports Hillary Clinton. And
I think he changed his position. 50 Cent, now since she's out, I think he's now supporting Barack Obama.
But that would be a smart move to do that.
Yeah.
Because now you have to be appear to be politically astute, because you don't want to lose that particular clout. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they have to be, so they can be called on by their handlers, by their white handlers.
Right.
So you have to appear at least. See, Puffy tried to appear neutral. Vote or die, galvanizing all the young energy, that demographic between the 18 and 35 demographic, get them out to vote, get them registered. Come to find out that all those names that when you register at the post office for the or register to vote, all of those names go into a database for the selective service draft. And this they're not telling us. So no one is saying, okay, well, this is the electoral process and this is how it works to educate us about voting. They just said, no, come register. And at that time, they want us to vote for Bush or Kerry, and both of them are cousins, and both of them belong to Skull and Bones.
wanted to draw a picture that describes effectively the false left-right paradigm. The Republican Party props up the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party props up the Republican Party. By itself, a single-party system will fall over. But if you take the two-party systems and you lean them up against each other, this is basically the arch. Their force going together keeps them together and makes it become a very strong, stable platform on which they can build their hierarchical New World Order system. So the current two-party system has been dominated and bought up and controlled by the elite that sits atop it. Now, the elite with a one-party system would not be balanced on top of one party. They would be subject to being toppled. But you put the two parties up against each other, they form a royal arch. And now it's very hard to separate those two because they're leaning up against each other. And so Republicans attack Barack Obama. And then the Democrats attack John McCain. And then the population who's down here is trained to see John McCain as representing them personally, as being their daddy, of where their personal power comes from, of their camp, their brand name, their brand of soda. And so this is a controlled paradigm. And really, it's one unit supporting themselves and containing revolution, so that the people who were down here never learn that there is a world outside of this controlled paradigm. We are locked within the left-right paradigm, and then it becomes this huge pageant, this huge distraction where we analyze every facet of the two political parties, never realizing they themselves are simply a front or puppets for a larger power structure. And then they can limit the scope of differences, which, if you look at it, there's almost no difference between the two, instead of getting the people to look outside the box at the wider world.
We traveled to Denver, Colorado in the summer of 2008 to cover the Democratic National Convention. One reason we wanted to go to Denver was to document the phenomenon of agent provocateurs. All over the world and in the United States, police had recently been caught dressing up like protesters and causing disturbances in front of news cameras to demonize the people's right to protest. Being activist journalists, we also wanted to protest the fact that the controlled corporate media was putting issues like the war in Iraq, the 9/11 cover-up, and the loss of liberties in the United States on the back burner.
touch him! Do not touch him! Get your hands off him! 9/11 was an inside job! 9/11 was an inside job!
Mile High Stadium is now called Invesco Stadium. 75,000 people are going to be here. The game is expected to announce its VP pick tomorrow. We've got some demonstrators here in our Freedom Park here as usual. We'll get fired despite that distraction. Let's go there. There she is, Senator Kate Bailey Hutchinson of Texas. Senator, thank you for joining us. I'm really dealing with a lot of noise here.
MSNBC was happy to have hundreds of Obama worshipers mindlessly screaming his name. But when we called for 9/11 to be investigated as a false flag attack, MSNBC staff and Obama fanatics got violent.